Hi, welcome back to the channel. You were supposed to get a video about Trump today, but instead I feel like I have to use my platform to raise awareness about another elephant in the room, and this is something that I should have done sooner. But now that something has come out into the internetverse, I feel like now is as good a time as any, and I actually got inspired to do this video because of Samantha Ravindale also making a video about it. But I want to talk about some other things that I know of, and this is going to be about Shane Dawson. I want to preface this by saying that all human beings are flawed. Shane Dawson is flawed. Jeffree Star is flawed. Samantha Ravindale is flawed, and as am I. Nobody is or will ever be perfect. Not even the most progressive of progressives will ever be perfect. I also believe that there are flaws that are just your little everyday mundane things, you messed up here. And then I believe that there are things beyond flaws, simply like racism and things like that. Again, I am no perfect human being. I once upon a time was a very racist, homophobic, biphobic, hi, I'm bisexual, individual. I've said things, I've thought things, I'm still unpacking internalized ableism. Hi, I'm also deaf and disabled, in case you're new. Throughout the years of having this platform, I have changed my ways. And I was once like Shane Dawson in another way. I used to be part of the makeup community on YouTube. Now, for him, I would describe being part of the makeup beauty community loosely, because I believe he really was just part of it for profit, because he came in, made a palette, and left like that. But in the beginning of my YouTube career, I wanted to be a makeup artist, and I thought the way to do that, to get that started, especially as someone out who is disabled and is living in a very ableist society, I thought the way to try to break through the doors even a little bit was to start on YouTube. And that's how I discovered makeup in the first place, really. And then in 2013 or 2014, I'm always forgetting the exact year, I made a video basically saying that I was quitting. Now, the part where I really relate to is that I used to be that person that was like, the beauty community is so toxic, y'all are the same, and I'm out. And I recognize over the years that's a statement that doesn't really need to be said. And last year I made a video talking about how the beauty community as a whole is not toxic, but my platform is small compared to everybody else, and nobody's really listening to me. So when I saw this, I wanted to give my own perspective. Samantha Ravindale gave her perspective as someone who is still in it. I wanted to give my perspective as someone who is out of it. Because now I use my platform to bring awareness to deafness, to disability, to bisexuality, mental health, child abuse, I have not given enough of my platform to talk about racism and stuff in a way that hopefully is not like stepping over. Because in the last few weeks we've had Black Lives Matter really happening again, if that's the right way to phrase it, and people have been incredibly concerned about white people and people who are white passing not really using their platform or their voices to speak up. And I recognize that I could be a lot better. I want to say that I've not been completely radio silent in the last few years. I share stories on Instagram, or I share posts on Facebook and tweets and things like that, but I've never really consistently talked about it with my voice. And another flaw is I have a huge anger management problem, growing up in a very toxic, abusive environment for 28 years and not having a privilege to be able to get out of it to really heal. Yet, I'm working on that through therapy and things. So I'm trying to preface this all by saying that I recognize that nobody's perfect. I am definitely not. However, like I said, I think that we can talk about these things to try to better everything else. Although for some people, it does seem hopeless. I think people can change. For some people, that may never be a possibility. A couple of days ago, Shane Dawson made this 4-page note blasting the beauty community so hard. And there's a couple of notes in there that I'm recognizing as I read it. I'm like, oh, you're really trying to play us, man. Like, really. And because I have a friend who's felt abandoned because of things that Shane Dawson has done, I feel sorry that I have never tried to help her as much as I could and speak up about it. So here we are. Welcome to the circus, my final thoughts on the beauty world. A few questions that I have been getting lately. What Shane is really trying to get out, at least in this beginning, and the real blow up that happened last year is with James Charles, Tati Westbrook, and Jeffree Star, and before that a couple of other beauty gurus who were always constantly involved in some sort of drama, and I think he finally just like snapped, and here we are. Number 6 in this note in particular says, have I ever tried to ruin a career or make someone look bad in my 15 years on YouTube? No. Do you remember a black woman named Franchesca Ramsay, Shane Dawson? This is my genuine question, because Shane Dawson is someone who, in the beginning of his career, he basically made a career off of many characters, many skits, and one in particular was a black character named Shanae, and he was in blackface and would have a sort of costume on that was a stereotype, and to my knowledge would talk in a way that was supposed to be like a stereotype black accent. A black accent? Is that how you say it? Throughout those years, black women, black viewers like Franchesca Ramsay would make note of this and call this out, and what would happen is he basically would run her off YouTube. She made a whole Twitter thread a few days ago because she's getting brought back up into it again, telling him that, you know, the racism was not right and things like that. So somewhere in the timeline of all this, at one point they were having a Skype conversation and he was trying to apologize. He was crying for like 3 hours and trying to be apologetic about this stuff and what have you. While at the same time there was or somewhere in the timeline again, he was making a podcast and he had a graphic or something. It was very graphic, the graphic or the statement, whatever. Ridiculing Franchesca, calling her a SJW, and he tried to play it off as if it wasn't about Franchesca, but it was, if you had the details, it was about her. You know, the series of events, who this person was, it was all about her, and Shane's entire fan base would constantly go to her on her Twitter, on her YouTube videos, would trash her in Shane's videos or whatever he had as well. You're trying to tell me that you had never made somebody look bad in 15 years of YouTube, but that is absolutely false. You had done that, and there's been no real apology to anyone's knowledge about that. A genuine apology. Not 3 hours of crying on Skype and then saying, yeah, whatever. The beauty gurus who are always involved in scandals are all the same. They are all attention-seeking, game-playing, egocentric, narcissistic, vengeful, two-faced, ticking time bombs ready to explode, and I'm over it. Yes, they are talented, creative, smart, and love makeup, but they also joined a side of the internet that is obsessed with looks, money, power, fame, screenshots, and subtweets, releasing private texts, voice memos, emails, and other receipts as a way to paint yourself in a particular light or someone else in a bad light is weird to me, and I will never engage in that. Shane is correct. There was a lot of, I used to be so involved in drama channels. I got sucked into the rabbit hole of drama channels and becoming obsessed with them and wanting to know who did what. Did Nikita Dragon do this? Did Manny MUA do that? And yeah, it's a time suck. It is an energy suck, and I think it's perfectly fine to want to leave that and not want to surround yourself with those people anymore. But to say that you would never engage in that is absolutely incorrect, because again, we're going back to who you did practically run off of YouTube and what you've done to that person and what stereotypes you made in general about a whole group of people. Yes, Jeffree is in that list of dramatic gurus, and he would admit that, but he will always be family to me, and I love him despite those characteristics. If you don't want to be involved in what you're talking about, you have to cut them out completely, and you are friends with someone who is probably, besides a couple of YouTubers that I can think of, but they're not part of the makeup space, Jeffree has to be the most racist, misogynistic, partaking in misogynoir. I'm sorry, I probably can't say that properly, but you know, it's no secret from what he's done a decade ago to calling Jackie Aina gorilla, by the way, for which he has not apologized for. He's still doing it, and those videos are coming out right now from people who Jeffree has worked with, who Jeffree has been friends with. If you really want to get away from these people, you have to actually, or if you really want to get away from the toxicity and all of this stuff, you have to get away from the main source of the problem. But can you really get away from the main source of the problem if it's what you've grown up on and what you are a part of within yourself? So for me, creators, people with platforms, we have a responsibility when it comes to our audience. Maybe I feel like it feels almost like more of a responsibility depending on what you do on YouTube. So for example, when you're a marginalized creator, making awareness about disability, things like that. I occasionally will have people in my audience who come in and will say things that would be really unsafe for disabled people. So for example, I just uploaded that video about Trump mocking a disabled reporter and how able people are pretending to really care about disabled people, etc. And I'm gonna make another video related to that soon, or I've made it, it just needs to be uploaded. Anytime I post something about like Trump or anybody who is so anti what we are, a portion of my audience kind of pops out of the hole in the ground and will say things, and I can either A, get rid of them from my audience so the people who I mesh with will feel safer, or I can let them stay there and potentially harm who is around me. Now, of course, people can argue that, you know, freedom of speech or whatever, which yes, you're allowed to say whatever you want, you're allowed to say your opinions, I'm allowed to make this video, and people are allowed to disagree with me or, you know, say anything that is opposite or do the opposite of me, but I feel like there's still some responsibility to be had. At the very least, if you see something, call out on it. When I started growing, thanks to girl.com, that website, man. When I started growing and went from a Bill O'Reilly hyping Fox News, watching racist, homophobe, sexist person, you know, I used to be all anti-gay marriage, and when I went from that to being who I am now, a lot more pro-choice, I'm bisexual, and give me that, you know, gay marriage or whatever, things like that. I had an issue with having a best friend who was the opposite of all of that. And I'm not saying you can't be friends with opposing opinions, but at least for me personally, and I know a lot of other people feel this way, there's a line to be drawn when it comes to human rights and things like that. So if my best friend is constantly saying really racist things, like she called our English teacher the N-word one day in the middle of the hallway, other sexist things, homophobic things, was pro-life, anti-choice basically, it did not feel right to be a part of that. So when you are associating with a racist, a misogynist, someone who has been or is a rape apologist and has been defending for a little bit, that is a problem, and you are taking part in that problem. The whole thing about not really wanting to feed into drama, also going back to not wanting to be involved in a drama or ever wanting to be a part of that or not being a part of that, your success for the last couple of years has been all about this docu-series about people like Jake Paul, which I don't know if I'm defending Jake here. Maybe I am in a way that I was defending Trump in some sort of way with ableism here. More like I'm trying to stick up for us disabled people with other disabilities, mental illness. That series in itself, not only did you take such a controversial person that you know you're gonna get views from his audience, things like that, but that series was actually so ableist in a way, throwing mentally ill people under the bus, and also taking a therapist who basically diagnosed him when you're not really supposed to be doing that in a YouTube video. Also taking Tana Mojo, who tried to pull a fast one on VidCon and make TanaCon, and she almost killed people. She did everything wrong and she almost ended up killing people, and there's more things that are happening with her right now. So you can't really tell me that you're not trying to get involved in all of this when you've been making a profit off of it, and you know that you're going to be making a profit off of it. And if you keep canceling them and wanting them to go away, then who will you talk about? Do we really need to talk to anybody? Do we really need drama channels anymore? I'm gonna be real with you. I used to be all about cancel culture like a year ago. Basically anytime I was watching those drama channels, like really invest in it. I don't think cancel culture really works, and I don't think it really gives people an opportunity to grow, especially also if it's things that have happened like 10 years ago. And again, I know Jeffree Star did things 10 years ago and attempted to apologize for it, but in recent years, and even as of just a year ago, it's a little bit wishy-washy. I don't know him personally, so I feel maybe I can't say, hey, he's changed, or he's not like this, or he is like this, you know, one of those three. I'm skeptical. And in terms of who will you talk about, who will you watch, anybody else on YouTube. We're talking about like the same 10 people over and over again? Jeffree Star, James Charles, Manny MUA, and Nikita Dragon, Laura Lee, Gabriel Zamoa, is that his name? Like, and then maybe a couple of others that get involved in something every once in a while. There are so many more people that you can watch, that we can talk about, and I've been saying this for years, and this is why, and I changed my mind. I was like, y'all need to watch other people. Watch people that have been working so hard to create a craft that is so good and wants to uplift people and just wants to have a good time putting makeup on their face, and it doesn't even have to be perfect. So why don't you ignore these people and watch the others instead? But let's not pretend that the beauty world isn't negativity first, makeup second. You are only ever looking at the what's the name that I can give it? You are only looking at the reality TV side of the makeup world, of the beauty world. Right? That's the best word that I can think of. But you know how like reality TV is, I've been a part of a documentary once or twice, and things are always a little bit pre-planned. So reality TV is very dramatic. Some things are scripted, some things are refilmed or just made in a way that's supposed to get views, that's supposed to get money. Like the night and day difference of Kitchen Nightmares US and UK, completely different because of where it's filmed and what our society, our entertainment industry is like. Yeah, that's just a fact. Ignore that little bit. Maybe that part, maybe that tiny little part is a negativity first and makeup second. Why aren't we uplifting the other part? Why aren't we uplifting people like Samantha Rottendahl, Raw Beauty Christie, who is having a fabulous time right now because she's been infertile for 15 years and is now making a freaking series because she's pregnant now, and it's absolutely beautiful. Why are we not talking about this? And with that said, I love watching beauty channels of all sizes, and I will continue to watch and support them. The dramatic ones, the non-dramatic ones, and the ones who genuinely just love to show their makeup skills. Sadly, those channels get way less views for the reasons I have stated above. So what are you doing about it? Are you sharing these channels? Are you talking about these channels? Are you making a video with a list of who people should be subscribing to? As for my channels, I'm done with the beauty world. I love what I was able to create with Jeffree, and I'm sure people are going to assume I only did it for money, but that's not true. I will still watch beauty videos, buy and play with makeup, and be a part of it in my life online, but as part of being a part of that world on YouTube, I don't think it's for me. A lot of people have been stating this in Sam's video in the comments, and also Sam herself has said it. I'm very skeptical of the fact that he did not come into the beauty industry just for money. Like, before that, did the man ever really make videos about makeup? All I can remember personally is the comedy skits that were offensive, the docu-series, even the video that he made with the blind YouTuber, which to my memory and what other people talked to me about when I was streaming on Twitch, was making ableist actions but using the advantage of somebody not being able to see that he was using that to his advantage. And one thing that really worries me especially is I have deaf friends, disabled friends, that when Shane's docu-series really started to come up, or at least when he did the video with Molly Burke, a couple of my deaf friends were really wanting to make a video with him about deaf awareness, and I think even in a tweet I might have sort of, as a reply, I might have supported the idea. In theory, I liked the idea, but I was incredibly worried about it and thinking that was a very bad idea, because when that video with Molly came out, there's also the fact that he doesn't make his content accessible to a deaf audience. I'm not sure if that would have, if working with deaf people would have changed his mind, because he was already working with disabled people and still wouldn't make his content accessible. And from what I've been told, people have been trying to get him to make his content content accessible, and it was either ignored entirely or people have actually been told no. But don't quote me, but that's what I remember from my memory. So that's one other reason why I can't really get behind anything that he does. So I never really taken him to be someone who ever really wore makeup, ever, except for maybe like, you know, in photo shoots or something like that, because that just happens. Now that doesn't mean that he can't suddenly, did I already talk about this? I can't remember. That doesn't mean that he can't suddenly, you know, discover makeup in a different type of way, not just like, oh hey, I see makeup and I see Sephora down there, you know, down the aisle. But like looking at it on YouTube and being really invested and watching more like I did, and then suddenly deciding I want to try makeup more, and then getting really invested and then wanting to create with that on YouTube. Anybody can do that. It's not like you have to pass a list of prerequisites in order to be a part of the makeup community on YouTube, to make a beauty related channel videos or anything like that. But it's just so weird to me and others that he just hopped right in, made a series with Jeffree Star, and then decided that he wanted to make a palette. And then the palette was made, he made millions, and then he's walking out. Do I have exact proof? No, this is alleged, okay? But I'm skeptical. The beauty community as a whole is not toxic. I used to say this myself, but it is not. You may have a small percentage, you may have a few bad eggs, but no, not really. And that's something I wish I would have learned back in 2013, 2014, when I broke up with the beauty community and made a whole video about it. Listen, maybe Shane will change for the better. Maybe Jeffree Star will finally change for the better, but I think he has some work to do with himself and with other people. Of course, I, as a white person, do not have the ability or the, what's the word I'm looking for? It is not my place or any other, like, white person's place. And this was a conversation that was happening, with some stuff about, racism, in the deaf community and Gallaudet, and also, like, just in general. It's not really our place to forgive people. Like, if a white person is making an apology video, it's not really our place to be like, oh, it's fine, you apologize, you've learned from my mistakes. No, that's not really our place to do that, so hopefully that's not what I'm doing here. But I know that it would be, at the very least, a little or a lot irresponsible for me to, like, just kind of sit back and watch how friends of mine how they were treated, and how the same person who treated them so badly is being like, hey, this isn't cool, without ever really having acknowledged that, and actually lying about it even, without having ever really acknowledged the fact that you've been doing the same. And unless you can do that, unless you can acknowledge that, dude, shut up. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you. I just felt like it was important to talk about it and not be so quiet about it anymore. I really want to try to be better about using my platform for certain things and not just to talk about disability awareness. And even if I talk about disability awareness, bring other marginalized groups into it, because that's incredibly important. If you would like to translate this horribly long, depending on what I edit it down to, video, I'll have the translation link down below in the description box. You know the drill, always the same thing. Give this video a like, a comment, share your thoughts. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you later. Bye.